Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA Veteran Frank Trigg. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Frank, it's been a while since we've seen you compete in mixed martial arts. Your last fight was back in September of 2011. Have you retired from MMA?
No.
No? What's been the holdup? Why haven't we seen you back in action?
No one's out there any fights. And when they do, the money is so low it doesn't make it worth it for me to compete.
So, are you still doing some training right now?
Oh yeah. I've been training. I've been helping other guys get ready for their fights over here at Shoot Couture in Las Vegas. Jalen and Martin Cameron, and I'm helping Ryan Couture get ready. And I was in New Orleans last week for a week working out with Rich Clemente. And then I'm going back later on this week for a couple weeks to work out with Rich Clemente and Alan Belcher and those guys. So we're going to work out, get some stuff going. And, I'm always kind of training. I'm always in the game trying to learn more and trying to improve my techniques and my styles. Just not a training camp per se for myself. It's because there's no fight on the horizon.
You had a grappling match, I believe, late last year. I think it was in December at Fight Summit. Is that the last time you've competed in some way, shape, or form?
Officially, yeah. That's the last time I competed.
With you being out for such a long time, don't you think the longer that you wait, that'll mean the less opportunities there are for you to fight?
I have no idea. I don't know. That's up to the promoters and those guys if they want to bring me in or not. For me, it's all about money. I'm not going to go out there and get punched in the head for a low rate when, the money that they're offering, I make that money every weekend when I commentate, or when I do my else's job, or, when I'm on my radio show. So why would I give all that up for 8 weeks to make the same amount of money when I make that in a week kind of thing? So, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make any sense. And my training camps are fixed costs. My doctors, massages, the fees for the gym, my training partners, but my training partners also is a fixed cost. And right now, what they're offering doesn't even cover my training camp. So there's no point for me to go out there and get hurt and get punched in the head for no money. So what it's going to take for me to get back inside the cage or ring is money. And that's what I should work out.
What's the timetable that you're looking at? Like, if you don't get a fight in, X amount of months, will you consider retirement? Is that something that's crossed your mind?
No, I don't. It's whatever the timetable is. I have no idea what it is. I just keep moving along day by day and kind of see what the world brings and what the days bring, and it just is what it is. I have no idea how long it'll be or what's going to happen. I haven't sat down and said, well, if I don't have a fight within 8 months for a year, then I'm done. That's just not how it works. It could be. Talking about last night, somebody said, hey, look, somebody asked me last night, how long do you need to get ready for a fight? I said, take me 6 weeks because I've been training. I'm not sitting on the couch. It take me 6 weeks to get ready, and weighing about 190, so my weight is really close to. I could fight at either 85 or 70. It's just a question of when somebody calls. But I don't have a timeline as far as if I don't have a fight by this time of the day that I'm going to never fight again. Just see what happens.
And now, like I mentioned, your last fight was back in September of 2011. You fought against Jim Wallhead. What went wrong for you in that fight?
I'm sorry, with what now?
Your last fight against Jim Wallhead. What went wrong for you in that one?
What went wrong for me?
Yeah.
The judges.
So you thought you won?
He won the first round. He knocked me down in the first round, caught me in put me down in the battle out, whatever, and then survived the first round, and I beat him up the second, beat him up the third. And then the judges gave it to him 29-28, 29-28, 30-27. Which, I knocked him down, took him down twice in the second, knocked him down. Third round, pummeled him, pushed him around, snapped him down, took his back. The whole bit, but they still, one judge said he wanted me around, so it's kind of, it's just, hometown. But it was in his place of business, so, I got out-judged. That's what happened in that one.
Sure. And now, how much do you think that loss is playing in a factor of you not getting fights? Do you think that has anything to do with it, or is it age? What exactly do you think has caused this inactivity?
Well, it's like I said at the beginning of our interview, it's money. The promoters don't have the money to pay me to be able to compete. So it's not that I'm not getting any fights. I'm not getting any offers that I will entertain because of the amount of money that they're offering.
I see.
So that's the issue. If people want me to fight, I get a fight offer every. It depends. Sometimes twice a month. End of the year, it'll be twice a month. Right now, this time of year, it's like once a month. I get an offer, to go compete. It just hasn't worked out for me. It's just because the money that they have just doesn't work.
Are they good opponents? It's just not the right money?
I have no idea. only had one offer
I see.
that had an opponent attached to it.
Oh, I see.
Every other offer has just been what would it cost for us to become. We have a date, we have a venue, we have a location. We want you to fight on this card. What would it cost for us to get you on this card? And then I turn around to my manager, and they get to the first conversation of the money, and then they hear from them because they just don't have that. Small promotions just don't have the money. That's just what it comes down to.
Oh, I see. And now I saw an interview that you did a while back. It was before the Jim Wallhead fight, and the reporter was asking you about coaching. When your career's over, is that something you want to get into? And you said that you weren't really that interested in. Now I saw you were cornering Martin Kampmann for his fight when he fought Johnny Hendricks. Is that something that's changed? Are you now interested in pursuing that?
No, I'm still not coaching. I do it. I'm very good at it. I just don't like it. The world has changed. Mixed martial arts especially. When I started doing it, my first fight, I fought 4 times in one night. Excuse me, 3 times in one night. I made $500. No travel money, no hotel, no food. $500 is what I made. I had to drive down 2.5 hours from Oklahoma City down to Dallas. I fought, turned around, drove back. The next time I fought 3 times in one night. I got $500. I drive from Oklahoma City all the way to Amarillo. I got a hotel room that time. And that was it. No food money, no gas, nothing. And then turned around home, and that was it. Now guys are coming in, and they're literally walking in. I've never done anything before. You come to the gym, you go, I'm been training, this and that, whatever. And in 6 months, I guarantee you, UFC's going to pick me up. Like, you have no fights, you have no record. And they literally think that they're going to be on TV, they're going to be on camera and making millions of dollars. And that's not what it is. Like, right now, the sport is all smoke and mirrors. Everybody thinks all these fighters are making tons and tons of money, but they don't. There's not that much money. Like, for me, when I was in my prime, 3 of my fights are in the top 100 fights of all time for the UFC. One of them's top 5. And I've made more money commentating in a month than I ever did fighting. Ever did fighting for anybody. So it's like, the money's really not there. So everyone thinks now that this is what's going to happen, that the money, everyone's going to be Chuck Liddell. Everyone's going to be Jerry St. Pierre. Everyone's going to be John Jones. Radich Couture. That's not what happens to the majority of the people that go into the game. It's when they walk in, they just don't have that drive and passion and love for the sport like I did. So, I really don't like coaching. I helped Coach Kampmann. I was more of a body for Kampmann than I was any part of the coach. His coaches were Ray Seffler and Kyle Griffin. And then I helped Jay Alonga as I was for Jay. I was just a body. I wasn't really a coach. He used Robert Drysdale and Ray Seffler. And I'm helping Ryan Couture get ready. And for him, I'm a little bit more of a coach as well as a body, helping him out. But the reality of it is that most guys that want to be coached just don't have the passion or the love for it. So I don't really want to have anything to do with it. I like training and coaching NFL players because they're professional athletes and they understand, that little bit of work in the off season makes a difference between being second string, sitting on the bench, or starting the game. And then when contract negotiation comes up, they started every game for the last 2 years. All of a sudden they get double the salary. Like those guys get it. Same thing with hockey players. Same thing with professional baseball players. Like they get it. Like those guys I don't mind coaching because they grasp onto it. But from coaching as a standpoint, I'm a really good coach. I understand how to break down fights, how to break down guys' techniques, and how to separate guys out and let them understand their strengths and their weaknesses and how to improve on stuff. Like I understand that concept very well, and I'm very good at explaining that to other people. I just don't have a passion for it. And so I'm a big believer in my whole life is don't do anything you don't have a passion for. And I have a passion for coaching because I see the flaw in the game and how the game is going right now for MMA. Even though I have a passion for MMA, and so I'm a passion for coaching in it. So that's why I don't particularly want to coach.
Now, Randy Couture, he's going to be one of the coaches for Fight Master. Is that the plan? Or will you help him out coaching some of those guys that are going to be on his team, whoever they may be?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no clue.
Oh, I see.
I haven't heard anything at all. Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, I see. And now, Frank, what are you doing commentary-wise? Obviously, you're no longer with Access TV, which was HDNet at the time. What are you doing? I see the MMA Oddsbreaker stuff that you're doing, and I really enjoy that. What else are you doing besides that?
Just obviously the MMA Oddsbreaker stuff you said, MMAOddsbreaker.com, and then I'm doing some stuff for Uriah Faber and Phil Davis started a new website for amateurs called MMA Draft. That's MMADraft.com, and they're right at the beta stage, so I'm doing a lot of interviews for them. And then I'm doing just analysis work for UFC Central up in Canada, which is the only show that the only network that has UFC attached to it that's not officially part of the UFC. They have a license agreement for Canada. Like the Tough Show, all the UFC prelim stuff that's seen on TV, everything is all done through UFC Canada. So when you go into Canada, on UFC Central, that's where you see everything on Rogers Sportsnet. And so I'm doing a lot of stuff with them up there. And Joe Ferraro is the host, I'm the co-host, and we do analysis beats of different fights. We did the last one here in Vegas, and then waiting to hear if I get the call to go up to Montreal. But if not Montreal, I'll be in Jersey, and then I'll be in Vegas for sure. So we're just sitting out commentating and doing the hour pre-show and the weigh-in show and all that stuff, and then as always, looking for more stuff, trying to get some stuff done with a couple other people in the States as far as commentating and analysis stops, and we'll just see what happens here in the next 4 or 5 months.
I see. And now, Frank, I want to change gears a little bit. I want to ask you about some current MMA topics. UFC 157 is coming up. I'm not going to ask you about the Rousey-Carmouche fight because I'm sure through MMA Odds Breakers and all the shows that you do that you're going to be asked that a million times from here until now. But just curious, people have been bringing up the topic about this not being able to draw on pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that this is going to be, a good sell for them on pay-per-view? Do you think they're going to get a good number?
Well, the problem is people talking about they don't draw on pay-per-view because they're looking at MMA as a whole versus boxing as a whole. And they're going, Manny Pacquiao fights, Floyd Mayweather fights. They're doing 1.2, 1.3 million in pay-per-view buys, and it's a whole thing. But there's only 1 or 2 fights for those guys a year. And they're the main stars of those guys fighting. People talk about not drawing on pay-per-view. Well, it depends. What's the real number? Remember, UFC was always in this weird stasis of what goes on, and if you guys remember a long time ago, Randy Couture kind of left the UFC and had a contract dispute with him because Dana White came out and said we're doing 1.1, 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, but Randy was only getting paid on 500,000, 600,000, 700,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So he's like, "Where's the rest of my money? You're telling everybody you're making these and pay-per-view buys, but you're only paying me on this. So where's the rest of the money?" And then it comes out, they're only doing 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. So then went up to around 800,000, 900,000. I think one time we did 1.1. And then the GSP fight, I'm not positive on that one. It was like UFC 1 had 1.1. But other than that, it's like in the 600,000 to 700,000 range. So if the fight this weekend does 500,000 and 600,000, it's right in the same range as every other fight is. But then they're going to keep talking about how they didn't draw anything, because people keep thinking that we're doing 1.1 or 1.2. The UFC and MMA is not doing that. MMA as a whole we're doing 500,000, 600,000, 700,000, 800,000. We're in that neighborhood. That's just where we're at. So them saying they're not going to be a big draw isn't true, because they are a big draw in comparison to everything else that's going on in MMA as a whole. Not what's going on if you take boxing out of the equation. Boxing is a separate entity.
I see. And now, Frank, probably Ronda Rousey has the most pressure on her because, she's the champ and she's gotten all this media exposure. But outside of her, who do you think has the most pressure on them? Is it Dan Henderson because he takes a loss here? He's getting up there in age. He might not be able to rebuild and get back up to where he is now and eventually get a title shot. It might take him a long time to do that. Uriah Faber, a lot of people are a little bit down on him because his last couple of title fights, he hasn't won any of them. Is it him? I look at a guy like Josh Neer. This is his 3rd UFC stint. His last 2 fights, he's been finished in both of them. A loss here. Could get cut, and I don't know about a 4th stint. Exactly who do you think has the most pressure on them going into this card?
I would say Josh Neer. He loses this next one, he's going to be done. The UFC is going to cut him. And he's also got a style of a guy that's not going to be able to get back in for a very long time. It's unfortunate, but that's the nature of the beast. Back in my day, you lose 2, you're done. That's it, we'll finish with you. Now it's like they tend to give guys a little bit more of a shot. 3 times, sometimes 4 times you get to stay in. But Josh Neer's got the most amount of pressure. See, Henderson and Machida don't have that much pressure on themselves, other than the personal pressure they put on to win. Because that's their more competitive fight. Lawler and Koscheck don't have that much pressure on them either, because both those guys are battle-hungry, battle warriors and know how to fight. They both make draws, swinging for the fence and trying to make this thing on the same fight. So always a draw. All those guys are still going to be around. Josh Neer, if he loses, more likely he's going to get cut. That's going to be a problem. Now, if Henderson loses, he may not be able to get back up again, but he makes so much money that they have to keep him on the main card, because it makes no sense to put him on an undercard off TV when he has to pay him that amount of money from the fight. And then because of that, every time he has a devastating knockout, like he gets Big Bang or somebody else, he gets this huge win, then automatically puts him back on the title hunt because so many eyeballs see him do that. So, really, he doesn't have that much pressure. Machida, on the other hand, if some player just knock you out with a front kick, they can do it, kicked out the tour's teeth. guys are battle hungry. And the reason why Uriah gets all those title shots and keeps losing those title shots is because he works his butt off to get back in the title hunt. With the other guys who play, he gets all these opportunities.
Right.
But it's like he gets the opportunities because he worked. So you got to give him credit for being the number one guy every time that he fights.
Mm-hmm. Sure, definitely. And now, as you look down this card, what's the fight that's on your radar? What's the one that you need to see? Is it obviously the head one, Rousey, Carmouche, or is there another one on that that's caught your eye?
Well, Henderson and I basically started fighting together. We started training together. Both of us were part of the Raw team, the management of Chiparelli brothers. We first started. Both of us were in that same space. Our first major workouts were working out with Henderson. So I always loved watching Henderson fight. But she had trained with me for a while when I was living in California, and I loved the way that he was back then. He's grown so much as an athlete, and I really enjoy how he battles and how he commits. So that fight for me is really a big one. And of course, I'm always partial to the other wrestlers, so I want to see Cosby and Lawler battle it out, and that one really interests me too because I want to see if Lawler still has it. He's much better, much stronger, much faster at 85. He's able to do so much more at 85, but he's fighting at 170. For whatever reason, that's just one of those things you have to be careful because when he's down at 170, he'd lose a little bit of power. This one tries to fight like he has power, and he hits you with a glancing blow, but leaves himself open and gets rocked himself. So you have to be real cautious. Mm-hmm.
And now, we mentioned pay-per-view numbers with the UFC and all that stuff. Bellator, they're on Spike. Right now, they're saying, their numbers on Spike, they're happy with them. They're lower than the UFC's Ultimate Fighter numbers, and what is considered, a bad number for the UFC drawing on the Ultimate Fighter for their ratings is considered a great number for Bellator on Spike. What do you make of these Spike ratings for Bellator right now? How much do you read into them?
Yeah, the problem is that most fans don't understand how TV works. Mm-hmm. So watch this and look at these numbers and going, what the hell is everyone talking about? You have to understand that this is the first season that Bellator is on Spike. Mm-hmm. So it's like watching the first season of a new series on mainstream TV.
Right.
So you watch this first season, the numbers are low. Then all of a sudden it becomes a cult hit like The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. It becomes a cult hit, like Firefly. And all of a sudden now these cult hits are on there, and they did get 10, 11, 12 seasons because they keep pushing through. The UFC numbers were low and poor because they were like on season 8, season 9, and the rate they're getting worse every season. So people are getting tired of seeing the same thing go on and on. Every event, the first episode always has a huge spike and it kind of drops way off and then kind of climbs back up again. And that's what Bellator is doing. It's following right along with the TV format. First episode gets a huge amount of ratings, and second episode drops off a little bit, third gets a little more, fourth gets a little more, and there's still kind of a first season going to hover around this space. So they'll get like a million views by the time the finals come around. I was watching the guys battle out in the for the titles, whatever. You'll get right around 1 million eyeballs on it, and then from there it'll increase because it'll come off for a couple 3 months and then go back on again. Then it'll be higher up in the beginning and then peak out probably at the end. Because remember, it's crescendo. But it's not like a storyline crescendo like you do with drama series on TV where you got to follow the whole season to figure what goes on in the finale. The finale of Bellator, when it's the final episode of the season, is main event title fights. If you've never watched Bellator before then, you'll turn on and watch the championship fights and know what's going on.
Right.
You don't care about the backlog story. You just want to see what's in front of you. So they'll probably peak out around 1.2, 1.3 in the second season. But right now they're right on track, and that's why Spike and Bellator are so happy with those numbers.
Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of Bellator? Are you a fan of this tournament format?
I'm a fan of fighting in general, so I'm a fan of all fighting.
Sure.
Doesn't make a difference what it is, and I like the tournament format, but my thing is with the tournament format, a guy can win and get a bad cut in the middle of a win, and then all of a sudden he's out. He's out of the tournament. Because he has a 30-day suspension or a 45-day suspension, and you miss the next line. And that's part of one of the problems, is that these guys just don't, they have to be real cautious about getting cuts, cautious getting beat up, and that kind of thing. And it does make it different. It makes it completely different of how things are going. From a fight tournament standpoint, because you are now available to go ahead and fight multiple times in a row, make a lot of money, real quick, win a tournament, make 100,000, and then have a shot at the title and go back in and make a much more money to fight a title, 4 or 5 months after that's done. But there's always the opportunity to get hurt, burn out, and not be at your peak when it's time to fight, for the part of the tournament, and then again to fight for the title fight if you're in that space.
Mm-hmm. And now Showtime, they're out of the MMA game for right now. They said they want to come back, so we'll see. But who do you think, as of right now, is the best fit for that space? You know, obviously you have some history with the shows on HDN. You've seen a bunch of those organizations come up. Right now, who would you say fits that space the best and would be somebody that Showtime would be interested in?
Well, the thing with Showtime is I don't think they'll be interested in anybody. What they're going to do is hire a promoter and then bring in and have Showtime MMA. Just like they do with Showbox. Where, you know, there's a big story right now where Floyd Mayweather just jumped over to Showtime from HBO. And he's going to fight only on Showtime. And that's just, he needs to sign to Showtime Boxing. That's what they're doing. I think Showtime's going to follow that same kind of format. We're going to sign a promoter, sign fighters specifically to the Showtime brand, and then throw fights once a month. That's just kind of what they're going to do. But to me, if they're going to do that, if they're going to bring in any kind of promotions, all the promotions that are minor league besides Bellator and besides UFC are all viable for that space. Invicta obviously is the best choice because it's getting so many rave numbers on internet pay-per-view that they'll be able to, you know, they crashed. Invicta did such a good job that they crashed Ustream. They didn't crash one of the servers of Ustream. They crashed all of Ustream. All of Ustream was down for 35 minutes during the Invicta fight when they had a paid ability to go watch the fights. Then I'm watching the fight, it crashes on me. They go, oh, we're so sorry, they're screwed up, we're going to refund all your money, but you can continue to watch the fights now for free. So I'm watching the fight, it crashes again. I'm like, what the hell happened? The CEO of Ustream comes out and goes, oh yeah, by the way, Invicta crashed our servers. He did a media circuit letting everybody know it was not Shannon Knapp's fault. It was our fault. Our servers crashed because the bandwidth was tremendous. He couldn't handle it. We blew it up. We are now going out. We bought 5 more huge servers to handle this kind of bandwidth. In the next show, we're gonna help Shannon Knapp out and take care of it and do everything we need to make this thing happen for her because of that. So to me, this makes the most amount of sense. Grab her, put her on Showtime, because a lot of eyeballs on her come over and watch her on Showtime. It just makes sense. Plus, there's a lot of other ones like Joe Kelly. Used to own Titan Fighting Championships. He merged with RFA. RFA now is on Axis, but Joe Kelly's kind of been pushed aside, so Joe Kelly can start something back up again and end up on Showtime. And I'm not sure how these Axis is now what HNet used to be. Axis, I don't know what Axis Entertainment has in the contract. I think a lot of these people are gonna when the contracts are up, we're gonna just vacate the contracts and leave Axis Television and then going over to Showtime because this makes sense. A couple of them will. I'm not sure every single organization can get over there, but I see Showtime doing a smart bit of doing a lot of stuff with a lot of people and having them throw 6 fights a year, but every month there'll be a new fight on Showtime as far as MMA goes. Or they'll do the typical format they do over there, where we want to sign a bunch of people as fighters go, have one promoter kind of help us out underneath that window of Showbox and call it Show MMA or whatever, and that's what we'll have that format. It just kind of depends on what goes on.
I see. And now, Frank, there's been so much talk about these super fights, the Anderson Silva, GSP, John Jones, Anderson Silva, you know, all this talk about we need to put these fights together. First, what's the fight that you want to see? And second, what's the one that you think will actually happen between the two?
None of them. I'm not interested in super fights. It doesn't do anything for me. You know, I don't, there's so many more fights within the weight class. Why are we still talking about these super fights? I don't care to see them. I'd rather see, John Jones, beat everybody in the division. I'd rather see Anderson Silva beat everybody in his division. If Silva wants to move up to 205 and make a title run, well, that's on him. Vacate the title and move up. By having these super fights, well, what happens? What happens with the belt? And then all these other fighters that are in line for the belt all of a sudden can't get the belt because they're being pushed off. So I'm not really into this whole game of these super fight things. I just don't like them. There's a reason for them. There's so many great fights in the space that we're in already in the weight class. Just let those guys fight it out first.
Do you think with these super fights they kind of missed the boat because when these were first talked about there weren't that many contenders at middleweight and welterweight? Now there's contenders all over the place at both weight classes. Do you think they kind of missed the boat a little?
A little bit, I think. If they're going to do it, they should have done it a long time ago. But now it's a little bit too late.
And now, Frank, last thing. I'm going to say 3 fighters' names, and I want you to predict their futures. Okay, the first fighter, Rampage Jackson. Where do you think he ends up?
Bellator.
Bellator and TNA?
No, Bellator. I don't see him on TNA.
Oh, you don't see him pro wrestling? Okay. Josh Barnett?
UFC.
Eddie Alvarez?
Bellator.
Frank, last thing before I let you go, Twitter, Facebook, website, where can people find you and keep up on everything you got going on?
All of the above. It's all Frank Trigg, one word. I use the same tag hash everywhere I go. So, Twitter, it's So that's everyone go like that fan page. That's the best spot. And then on Instagram it's Frank Trigg. On Pinterest it's Frank Trigg. On everything it's basically all one, Frank Trigg 1 word. I do the same voice everywhere. So.
Frank, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.